and welcome to a very special board gaming video. This one is special because it is one of the few where I'm going to be focusing on theme a great deal. The theme for today is actually going to be horror games because it just so happens that we are in the great month of October where we have Halloween, where all of the spooks and goblins and zombies and all sorts of random other stuff happens to come up. So I thought this would be a great time to go with another theme video that focuses on Halloween and specifically horror. So this is going to be games that are maybe not necessarily spooky in their own right, but just the idea behind them is meant to be scary and spooky and weird and strange and all that kind of stuff. So with that, we'll go right on ahead and get started with my number 5. At number 5, I have a game that I have talked about a couple of times that I personally really enjoy because of the way that it's played. The game itself is Shadowhunters. The idea behind this game is that it is a team co-op game where you have up to 3 teams of people who are either shadows, hunters, or regular citizens. Now, for me, the horror for this game and like the general feel of the theme is actually pretty impressive, especially if you're one of the poor civilians, because then you're just caught amongst all of these evil shadows and these people trying to kill the shadows and all this kind of stuff. It's just crazy, wacky weirdness, but it's a lot of fun, and it really does hit the idea of the horror theme and like the world is being invaded kind of feeling to it, which is really great. And incidentally, that is sort of a running theme for all of the games I'm going to be talking about today, is actually just sort of the invasion of the regular world with something that is horrifying and terrible and everybody should run in fear. But either way, I really enjoy Shadowhunters. It's a really good game. It's you can debate about the cooperativeness of it. I think that it has a decent amount of cooperative capability with it. As far as the horror theme goes, I think it's good. It's more of, I guess, almost a cartoony version of horror, though. So you can see, like, some of the images, actually, I don't know how well you can see them, but the images of the characters and things like that are designed as more of a cartoonish type thing, and that's why it's actually a little bit lower on the list. But either way, it's a great game. It's a lot of fun. Pretty decent horror, a little bit scary depending on what time of the day that you're playing. Either way, Shadowhunters, my number 5. Moving right along to number 4 is a game that I only acquired relatively recently, but I have been having a great deal of fun playing it, not only in groups, but also solo. It's a lot of fun, and it involves the spooky ghosts. The game itself is Ghost Stories. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this, the idea behind Ghost Stories is that you are living in a village, and the village is gradually being haunted by ghosts. And the ghosts are all different sorts of ghosts that have different capabilities and all these kinds of things. And then there's the big main baddie ghost, who is essentially the reincarnation of a very old, very, very nasty bad guy. It's a lot of fun, and just in general, it's pretty spooky. I mean, you can even see, just like with Shadowhunters, the artwork, at least on the cover, is relatively cartoonish almost, but still, you do get the feeling of, wow, this is kind of spooky. We got skulls, and we got claws, and we got weird-looking, decrepit zombie-type guys. It's pretty crazy stuff. It's a lot of fun. It is a wonderfully well-designed game. Tons of fun with one person, tons of fun with 4 people. Really doesn't matter. There's actually an expansion for this as well. Unfortunately, I don't have it, but I've played with it before, and the expansion actually adds a good deal to this game, including new zombies and all sorts of other crazy stuff. Well, not zombies, but new ghosts. But either way, it's a really uniquely designed game. I love the mechanics for it, like how the ghosts are assigned and all that kind of stuff, and you're essentially controlling the ghost to a certain extent. extent, quote unquote, controlling. And so it makes you feel like you're sort of part of your own demise, which makes the horror theme, for me personally, jump out just a little bit more. But either way, that's why Ghost Stories is my number 4. At number 3, I have a game that I have talked about several times and that I've had for quite a while, but recently got a bunch of really cool expansions and had a pretty successful Kickstarter run again. The game is Zombicide. Yes, of course, if you're going to be talking about horror games, then at some point you have to have a true blue real zombie game. Now the big question becomes, why is it that I like Zombicide over something like the Walking Dead co-op game, or Last Night on Earth, or Zombies? Whatever it happens to be, right? I actually prefer Zombicide simply for the general mechanics that it uses. It's not necessarily tile exploration, but you do have tiles involved with it. I love the little miniatures that you get, although the zombie dogs are very, very frustrating. In I think it's Zombies that has the zombie dogs in it, but they're really annoying. Either way, again, you have to have some kind of zombie game, and I guess you could even say is more categorically pretty much any kind of zombie game is obviously going to have somewhat of a horror element. I really don't find that the Walking Dead co-op game, to me personally, really gives that horror theme. I think it more goes for the actual Walking Dead style, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, I love the game, it's a great game, but the thing is, as far as feeling like you are being overtly oppressed by zombies and that they're all coming at you and you have this giant horde after you, it's there with the zombie tokens and all that kind of stuff, but I just prefer the feeling of Zombicide. I really love the way that the tiles are. I love the graphics on them and how you've got, you know, the cars that you can explore, all the different items that you can get, all of the different types of zombies, and again, the miniatures. Absolutely beautiful, wonderful game, lots of fun to play, and I mean, you got all the stuff with the experience, so you gradually increase your character's capabilities, all sorts of stuff. It's just lots and lots of fun. I think it hits a lot on the survivalist element for these types of games, just like, again, things like The Walking Dead, where you have to collect food and gasoline and medicine. I think those are the 3, but either way, you have to collect items. It really feels like you have to scavenge and steal and borrow and beg just to survive what you're doing. It really feels like you are under the oppression of the zombie apocalypse. Lots and lots of fun. Just general zombie games, but specifically Zombicide, my number 3. At number 2, I have one of my favorite fully cooperative games of all time. In addition to being one of the games that I really enjoy playing solo, it is Arkham Horror. Now, the thing with Arkham Horror is that this is sort of a one in a massive collection of Lovecraftian games that Fantasy Flight has put out. We've got Arkham Horror as the one that I really do enjoy, but there's also Eldritch Horror and then Elder Sign as well. Arkham Horror has a ton of expansions. Eldritch Horror has a couple of expansions. I think that Elder Sign actually has 1 or 2 as well. But either way, as far as the thematic elements go, I really prefer Arkham Horror because you are literally going up against one of the Elder Ones. You can see which Elder One it is. You can see all of the bad guys coming. Again, you have the cool little the little markers so that you can see all the bad guys. You got the just the neat little standees, but still, it's really cool. I think this does a great job of really capturing the feel of the Lovecraftian Cthulhu mythos, which is something that is relatively rare in many of the games that are based off of it. But I mean, for crying out loud, it has the word horror in its name, and it feels like that at the very least you are with another group of people, but more often than not you're still by yourself doing whatever you have to do to try to survive. And there is nothing quite like trying to seal a gate with your last clues and having to roll those dice and just hope that you get the good roll that you'll be able to seal the gate and save the world. It's just an incredible suspenseful feeling where, just like with Zombicide and other games like that, you really feel a sort of the crushing weight of having to save the world and save yourselves in the process, rather. And that's actually why I prefer Arkham Horror in these games to something like Zombicide, where thematically in Arkham Horror you are saving the world, whereas in Zombicide you're trying to survive. It's a little bit different, and I think it makes all the difference, at least in my mindset where I'm playing this game, and I just can't help but thinking, oh man, I really hope I make this, I have to make this, I have to make this. And then the random events with the Mythos cards, all that kind of stuff, just adds and adds and adds to the theme. Wonderfully thematic, wonderfully spooky. Arkham Horror and Eldritch and Elder Sign as well, collectively my number 2. Last but certainly not least is actually a game that I have played many times, but unfortunately do not own. But the problem is that I really love the way that the theme is handled with it. So for now, I'm going to represent the game with my giant Cthulhu dice. Even though this is more appropriate for Arkham Horror, it's still appropriate for any horror game if you ask me. The game itself is actually Betrayal at House on the Hill. The reason that I love that game so much, it's so much fun, is solely because of the theming. There are plenty of games that utilize tile exploration, there are plenty of games that utilize miniatures and, you know, just the random movements, the different character types, item collecting, blah, 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 blah. All sorts of games do that, and all sorts of games do them very well. The thing for me that really puts Betrayal at House on the Hill over the edge is the idea of the betrayal. Because first off, you have no idea who it's going to be. It is actually random and depends on who activates a specific event. And then it says this person becomes the bad guy, essentially, and then everyone else is the good guy. So at first, everybody is cooperative, everybody's happy, you're trying to figure out what's going on, and then suddenly, boom, everything hits the fan, and you have to try to figure out what's going on, what you have to do, how it works, all of that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun, and I think as far as the horror theme, there is nothing quite like not having a clue what's going on. So for example, with Arkham Horror, where you know which bad guy you're going to be facing, or which elder god you're potentially going to be facing, with Betrayal at House on the Hill, you don't really know what's going on because you only vaguely know what's in the potential scenarios, and you don't know exactly who the bad guy is, what they're going to do, how it's going to work, or anything like that. And for me personally, it makes it all the more enjoyable. It makes it so much more fun. Absolutely enjoy it, absolutely adore it. It is definitely one game that I want to get, but in the meantime, I have other friends who do have it, so I get to play it fairly frequently. Betrayal at House on the Hill, my #1 horror game. Thank you very much for watching my video on my top 5 horror-themed games in celebration of Halloween. If you totally agree, totally disagree, have your own personal favorites, or whatever else you want to say, please feel free to put it in the comments below. And with that, I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching my top 5 horror-themed games. If you have a personal favorite, if you enjoy the ones that I said, or if you don't like them, whatever it happens to be, please feel free to put any and everything in the comments below. If you want to see more of my videos, you can see several of them linked at the top of the page. And if you want to see more of me in the future, go on ahead and click that big old subscribe button. With that, thank you very much again, and I will see you next time.